All right, everybody, the saga continues here on this Black Sabbath album review series. We're getting close. We've got 3 more to go. And, you know, last time we covered Dehumanizer, 1992, where we saw the return of Dio and Vinny a piece on drums. But now we've already got a lineup change. This is how kind of scattered it has been, you know, through the 90s and kind of, you know, disorienting as far as lineup changes go. Pretty much what happened was, you know, they were gonna go on a show with Ozzy and Dio. From at least this is what I've read here. Dio was Black Sabbath was gonna have to open for Ozzy, and Dio didn't really like the idea of opening for Ozzy, so he was like, "I'm out." And that involved with, I think, just some other stuff in the background led to that. And, you know, of course, Vinny went right along with Dio as he usually does. So they called in Tony Martin to come down for, you know, to cover in or to fill in for Ronnie, but he was having some travel issues. So then they got, you know, for a one night thing, they had Rob Halford from Judas Priest actually come in and sing for Sabbath, which is pretty damn cool. But of course, this did lead to this right here, Cross Purposes in 1994. Where Tony Martin is back as lead vocalist, and we've got Geezer stayed around this time, so it's pretty cool to have him and Tony Martin on the same album together. Obviously Tony Iommi, as I've said, you know, it's his band, he's in every single album. And then we get a new drummer, who was it? I forget his name, he was from Rainbow, though. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but he's played with Rainbow, and he does a solid job on here, with not quite as powerful drum sound as maybe Cozy Powell, but I mean, he does a good job with, like, it is a powerful sound nonetheless. But yeah, production-wise here, it is kind of a step down. You know, as we were looking at the last couple, you know, we had Headless Cross, Tur, and Dehumanizer. I said those are like a trio of, like, incredibly produced albums. This one, it is solidly produced, very balanced out production, but to me, it is kind of a step down. It's, it doesn't sound as big as, you know, those albums did, and maybe that has something to do with Cozy not being up in it and involved in it, I don't know. But, you know, even like Tony's, guitar isn't like, doesn't have the same amount of crunch it does on maybe some of the, you know, those albums, and just overall, those albums I think, are quite a bit better produced than this, but it's not a bad produced album. And funny thing about the album cover here, it's really cool looking, you know, kind of reminds me of Heaven and Hell. It actually appeared on a single or an album cover of the Scorpions around the same time, so it was like the exact same picture. So kind of weird that your guest guys are just using this picture. But this album totally reminds me, it's pretty much like the Heaven and Hell for Tony Martin. Like, it has a lot of vibes that gives off. And we'll just jump right into it with the opener here, Eyewitness. Really, really cool, kind of faster paced track with a really cool and just good grooving riff that really just kind of speeds along. And then, you know, a cool chorus that's a little bit slower and shows off Martin's vocals and showing that, hey, he still got it. You know, you cut him loose and went out and did a solo thing, which, by the way, is awesome. At least that first solo album. I've not really listened to a lot of his other solo stuff or his other projects, but, you know, and he's back and he's ready to kick some ass. And Eyewitness is, you know, just the epitome of that, showing that, hey, these guys, this lineup's going to keep going. And, you know, it's a solid opener. That's exactly the type of opener we'd expect, you know, from these guys. Then we get, man, this is one of my favorites off here, Cross of Thorns. And it has the creepy kind of, you know, choir sound, you know, like demonic, angelic kind of choir thing going on that I'm pretty sure it's synths that they're using, though. You know, Jeff Nichols, still a part of the band here, that he's using to make those noises. I don't think they got in an actual choir, but I think he's using a synth with that effect on here, and it just works so well. Adds a creepy vibe. So does Tony Martin's kind of lower range vocals, which he uses a lot on here on this album. And man, the bass work too from Geezer on this track. And once it kicks into the chorus, it's like, because it's kind of got, just kind of grooving along, going real dark and eerie with that synth. And then Iommi just rips in with just this brutal riff. I mean, man, during that pre-chorus and chorus, that just, oh, and just some incredible vocal work during the chorus with Martin just howling his way through it. And it's just a very, very powerful song as it just keeps going along. Very, very underrated track in their entire discography. I mean, this one, it really reminds me a lot of probably the song Heaven and Hell. Gives me really a lot of similar vibes to it. So, Cross of Thorns, just incredible, incredible song. Then we get Psychophobia, which is a really unique one. It has a really cool riff going on. Kind of an offbeat time signature thing, which we get, a little bit on another track here later on. And it also has a cool Hammond organ kind of sound. I don't know if Nichols actually used a Hammond organ on this, or maybe just had that effect on his keyboard, but man, it's sure as hell sounds like a Hammond organ if it's not one. And it's really, really cool. It's not something you really hear Sabbath do a lot, so... And you know what? This one's got kind of a faster paced verse and then kind of a more slow with the Hammond organ entering in and adding some really cool dramatic effect to that chorus. And really, really cool song. Kind of a slower chorus with just like the drums kind of carrying the way and a cool little fill from Iommi. Psychophobia is really, really cool. Then we get to possibly my favorite off here. I mean, man, Virtual Death. That is like the most... Oh, man, one of the most badass bass lines that Geezer Butler's ever wrote. It just opens up with his, incredible bass tone. It never fails to amaze me, Geezer Butler's bass tone. And it just opens up here, and then the drums. There are times in this, like, honestly, before giving it, a listen again for this review, I always thought it was Cozy Powell on here. So this guy, again, I'm drawing a blank, but he drummed for Rainbow for a lot, for several of their albums, but he does a hell of a job imitating that Cozy Powell sound on a lot of these, and on Virtual Death, for sure. Probably one of the biggest drumming highlights off this album is on Virtual Death, and the riff, it's just got that gnarl that you expect from Iommi. Man, it's just, it's a very evil sounding riff, very evil sounding. This one also reminds me of the song Heaven and Hell, which is cool, but not like in a way to where it's too close to Cross of Thorns or whatever. Totally different song structures and everything, but they just kind of convey that same kind of message and feel to them, with them being really dark. And I love the breakdown after that, kind of epic little fill there and bridge. And then it just goes kind of silent, and then, Martin just pretty much just growls out, Virtual Death. I mean, man, that is just such a badass song. And it very, very bass-driven song, which is just, you can tell Geezer Butler has his, handprints all over this album, and it really, really shows on Virtual Death. One of my favorites off here. Then we get another one of my favorites, Immaculate Deception. That's the other one, very, very offbeat riff and drumming, which is just a really, really cool and almost disturbing effect that it goes for. And again, also has the sense of that kind of choir sound going on here to add to, another layer of like eeriness to it. So love that. And this has some of the best vocals on there, like during the breakdown where Martin is just vocally nailing it with, like, night after day, day after night. During that whole part right there, he's just doing the classic Tony Martin thing that he's known to do, and just absolutely slay the vocals. Also, really, really cool solo on here. So, Immaculate Deception, one of my favorites. Then we go on to Dying for Love, which reminds me a ton of Feels Good to Me, which is off Tour. Seems like they kind of tried to go for that same kind of thing. And, they did a damn good job at it. Maybe not as good as, Feels Good to Me, but maybe, I don't know. That's kind of tough to say. Because this is a really cool song that also does its own thing in parts. With, like, I love the way the vocals and there's some cool harmonizing going on in here, actually. and then you get the really cool, like, the riff that just kind of stops in intervals and has Martin just singing his way through. I mean, just such a cool ballad off here. Martin really kind of, I mean, he's shown, like, off of, you know, with Tur, like on Feels Good to Me, on that song, that, hey, man, they can pump out a ballad, something that, you know, would, like, Feels Good to Me and this song sound like maybe something that'd be off Seventh Star. So, you know, I like that they're still kind of, at least including a song or so that kind of harkens back to that style in that album. Then we get probably my least favorite off here, if I had to pick one, but it's still really solid, Back to Eden. And it's got a really, really cool riff and just a really, really nice groove to it. So it's a solid one, but if I had to pick my least favorite off here, it'd be that one. But like I said, really, really cool. I like the lyrics on it. So, and I like the ending to it too. It has a really solid, cool, like, just jammy solo to it. Then we get one that's just got, man, a hell of a solo in it. We're talking The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And I love the flow and the, like, of the lyrics going to the rhythm and the riff going on there. Just a really, really cool song. And again, just a powerful, powerful vocal performance from Tony Martin. I can't say it enough. You know, love the guy. Super underrated. And hell, you know, I think it's awesome he came back on this thing. And on top, I mean, the solo at the end after Martin just howls, like the part of the pre-chorus, and then just Iommi just rips in like he does and just is shredding and shredding on this one and just goes at it. And then it, you know, it ends up ending back with that speedier pace to it. So really, really cool song. Then on our second last track here, we got Cardinal Sin. Man, that's got to be one of my favorites off here. Oh, I mean, this one has got, it's got really, really cool song, really cool lyrics in it yet again. You know, kind of a dark vibe to it. And I love the kind of orchestral feel, even though, again, I think that's probably also a synth job from Jeff Nichols there. But, man, it's just got a really, really cool feel to it. And dark, dark lyrics that are, you know, scattered a lot throughout here. This isn't quite as dark and satanic lyrics as, like, something like Headless Cross, but it's got some dark lyrics going on throughout here. And nothing, you know, beats the ending of this song to me, where, like, where it starts kind of picking up speed, and then, like, you know, you point the finger, sin, cardinal sin. Like, I love how that just flows together. Love that whole part and that ending of it, and, like, the kind of chants going on in the back. Just an incredible song. Cardinal Sin's one of my favorites off here. Then we close with probably the bluesiest one off here. And actually, it had there's a songwriting credit that goes to Eddie Van Halen helping write this last track, Evil Eye. Kind of weird that he's even getting involved with them, to be honest. And it doesn't really sound like anything he would even do on this song, you know. And I'm not really sure if he plays on this song. I've heard that he does a solo on it, and I've heard that he just wrote it. I'm not really sure. But either way, it's an awesome song and a hell of a closer. Really, really bluesy. The bass groove, again, a very bass-driven song, and that's, you know, was bound to happen with Geezer being back on board. And I mean, I love the chorus of this thing, and I love how just it kind of drones on, like feels a lot like that earlier 70s Sabbath stuff going on, and then you get a breakdown with just the bass going on. Man, oh, anytime Geezer does that sort of thing, I'm just in. Like, it's just an instant hook for me, is a good old Geezer Butler bass breakdown. That, you know, that's all it takes for me to just pull me in. And there's one present on there that's one of my favorites off this album. That breakdown, it really, the bass work, as far as this album goes, it's one of the best ones off here. And yeah, guys, I think this is just an incredible album. And, you know, if maybe, I've heard people say that this is like the album that sounded the most like Sabbath in quite some time, because it does kind of feel like a fusion of these eras, you know, Tony Martin, kind of his era and his influence scattered in there, and there's some songs that really feel like a lot like the Dio era, and there's some songs just like Evil Eye that feel a lot like the 70s Sabbath stuff, and I think maybe that has something to do with there being like a assortment of members, you know, a guy from Rainbow in there, Martin, and then Geezer and Iommi. So it's kind of got a different lineup to it, which is really cool. So this album definitely has a very distinct feel to it. Stands out among the Tony Martin albums as something sounding quite a bit different. And, you know, also maybe that helps it. Maybe it being differently, the production varying quite a bit, makes it stand out a little bit more. But I think this is just a super underrated album. I've always loved this thing. And you know, just all killer, no filler yet again from a Martin album. He's not failed yet. But is he going to fail next time when we look at Forbidden? And it's like the Forbidden Sabbath album because, you know, it's just, let's just say it's got some problems. And if any of you know that album, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so, but who knows? Maybe I'll, that's probably the Sabbath album I've listened to least out of all of these is Forbidden. So maybe I'll, you know, realize something going into it whenever I give it another listen here coming up. So, but yeah, stay tuned for that and for, you know, an in-depth analysis, track by track, going through Forbidden, which should be pretty interesting. I'm interested to see if my thoughts have changed on it. So, anyways, guys, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this super, super underrated and often forgotten Sabbath album. Even, I'd say this album is even more forgotten than Forbidden because at least people know Forbidden as being like a shitty album. This one, they just forget it happened, you know, and, you know. But, yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for our next album review of Forbidden. Thanks.